The galaxy had seen many new species rise and fall, but when the humans arrived at the Great Council, most aliens laughed. To them, Earth was small, fragile, and unimportant. The human diplomats looked different, spoke with calm voices, and carried themselves without fear. But in the eyes of the alien empires, they were weak. The alien leaders whispered among themselves. They said humanity had no great fleets, no massive armies, and no star-spanning empire. They thought Earth was a child playing in the fires of the stars. To the aliens, this meeting was not between equals. It was only a formal show before they demanded Earth's surrender. At first, the talks were polite. The alien council chamber floated in orbit around a dead moon, its walls shining with silver light and banners of old victories. The alien envoys smiled, but their eyes were sharp. They spoke of peace, but everyone in the room felt the weight of threat hiding behind the words. Peace would only come if humanity bowed. Yet the humans did not bow. They did not even look nervous. Their ambassador, a tall man with sharp eyes, listened in silence as the alien speakers declared the rules of the galaxy. His voice, when it came, was soft but clear. "We thank you for your welcome," he said. "We came in peace and we wish peace." The aliens laughed. A reptilian commander leaned forward and hissed, "Peace is not yours to ask for, human. You are too small. You do not know what waits in the dark. You will learn to obey." But the human ambassador only smiled. His silence was strange, almost unsettling. There was no fear in his eyes. The aliens noticed this but dismissed it. After all, what could a species like humanity do against the empires of the stars? Outside the chamber, fleets of alien warships drifted in orbit. Their hulls were armed with plasma cannons and energy shields. The aliens had brought them as a warning. A clear message: resist and you will be destroyed. To them, this was a game already won. But in the quiet space between the stars, something moved. The alien sensors detected a small ripple, like a wave in still water. It was faint, almost too small to notice. A distortion in the void. One officer saw it and frowned, but when he reported it, his commander laughed. A ghost in the system. Nothing more. Humans do not have ships worth hiding. The council continued. Words of power and threats wrapped in politeness filled the air. The aliens listed demands. Earth must give resources, must give soldiers, must give loyalty. They believed the humans had no choice, yet the human ambassador never argued. He only listened as if he already knew the outcome. Every so often he touched the small device at his wrist, almost like a signal. It went unnoticed by most, but one alien general saw it and felt uneasy. Something about the human calmness felt wrong. Minutes turned to hours, and still the humans did not bend. Their refusal was not loud, not proud. It was simple silence, and silence made the aliens nervous. Then it happened again. Another ripple. This time it was stronger. Alien sensors lit up in alarm. A distortion spread across the stars like a curtain shifting. The alien commanders barked orders, scanning the space around the council moon. Their ships turned their weapons outward, but nothing appeared. The human ambassador watched quietly. His lips moved in a whisper, a message not meant for alien ears. The aliens grew restless. Some demanded an explanation, but the humans gave none. The tension rose like a storm waiting to break. Finally, one alien commander slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This is a waste of time," he shouted. "Your world is weak. Your fleets are dust. You should kneel now before we show you what true war looks like." The human ambassador stood slowly. His calmness never changed. He looked around the chamber, his gaze steady, his voice cold. "We came in peace. But do not mistake peace for weakness." The aliens froze. The words echoed in the chamber like a challenge, like a promise. For the first time, they felt something heavy in the air, something they could not name. Outside, the stars trembled. The distortion grew wider. One alien ship's sensors screamed a warning. "Something is out there," a captain shouted, his voice shaking. Something big, but the War Council still laughed. "Empty threats," one said. "Ghost signals," said another. "Humans are too weak." The human ambassador only whispered one last phrase into his wrist device. And then he sat down. The silence that followed was not empty. It was heavy, sharp, filled with unseen presence. Something was waiting in the void, something the aliens had not yet seen. The audience watching the story would feel the tension build here. The aliens were certain they had the upper hand. The humans seemed alone, unarmed, and cornered. But the clues were there, the ripples, the silence, the unshaken calm of the human ambassador. It was not weakness. It was patience. The curtain between shadows and reality was about to break, and when it did, the galaxy would never laugh at humanity again. Alien arrogance. The chamber was filled with voices. Alien leaders argued over who would take control of Earth first. They did not even wait for the humans to answer. In their minds, the matter was already decided. Earth was a small prize, but it would belong to one of them. The reptilian commander, his scales shimmering under the silver lights, sneered. "Let us settle this quickly. Give the humans a choice. Surrender now and they may keep their planet under guard. Refuse and they will see their skies burn." Other voices joined. A towering insectoid queen clicked her mandibles together. Weak creatures are useful only as labor. Their bones are thin, their muscles soft, but they can mine and serve. The human ambassador listened, his face calm, almost empty. His silence made some aliens uneasy. He should have been afraid. He should have pleaded. But he sat still like a man who had already heard their speeches many times before. Some alien generals grew frustrated. They wanted the humans to show fear. One leaned forward, his long fingers tapping the table. "Why do you not speak, human? Do you not understand? You have no power here." The ambassador finally spoke, his voice steady. "We understand. We hear your demands. We do not agree." The chamber fell silent for a moment. The aliens blinked, confused. No one had refused them in centuries. Smaller species always bent to their power, but this human had not raised his voice, had not shouted or cursed. He had simply said no. The reptilian commander bared his teeth. "You think your words can save you? You are alone. You have no fleets. You have no allies. Do not play games." Still, the human did not change. His eyes locked on the commander's calm as stone. Far above the chamber, the alien fleet circled the dead moon. Their ships gleamed like blades against the stars. Crews moved through their halls with confidence. They had won every war they fought. They had crushed rebellions, destroyed planets, and erased histories. To them, humanity would be no different. Yet small things began to stir unease. A signal pulse too faint to trace crossed the void. Alien technicians caught it for a moment, then lost it. A ripple of distortion appeared again at the edge of their scanners. "A ghost," one officer said, but his voice lacked conviction. The distortion lingered longer this time, like a shadow refusing to leave. Inside the council chamber, the insectoid queen leaned close to the human ambassador. Her mandibles clicked with a hiss. "Your people should be grateful. Few are allowed the choice to kneel before the council. Most are destroyed. Accept this gift." The human tilted his head slightly. "Is a chain still a gift if it is placed around the neck?" The queen recoiled in anger, her wings buzzing. The other aliens laughed at his words, but their laughter was thin. Something about the human's calm tone unsettled them. The ambassador's guards, two silent figures in dark uniforms, stood behind him. They never spoke, never moved, but their presence felt heavy. Aliens glanced at them with suspicion. Were they only guards, or something more? The council continued. The aliens argued over resources, over territory, over who would own Earth's oceans and skies. They acted as if humanity was not even present. The ambassador watched, his face unreadable. Every so often, his fingers brushed the small device on his wrist. The motion was subtle, almost invisible. But one alien general noticed. His eyes narrowed. "What are you signaling, human?" The ambassador did not answer. He only looked at the general for a long moment, then turned back to the council. The general's heart beat faster. For the first time, he felt something strange. Doubt. Above the moon, another ripple spread through the void. This one was larger. Alien captains shouted orders, trying to lock their scanners on it. But the ripple vanished again, leaving only silence. The fleet steadied, but the crews whispered. Some spoke of cloaked ships, hidden armies, ghosts of war. Their commanders silenced them, declaring humanity too primitive to have such weapons. Yet the fear was growing, creeping through the halls of their mighty vessels. In the chamber, the human ambassador rose slowly to his feet. His shadow stretched across the polished floor. He spoke with quiet certainty. "We came in peace, but peace does not mean surrender. You believe we are weak. You are wrong." The council erupted in anger. Voices shouted, claws struck the table, wings buzzed with rage. Empty words. One cried, "Lies!" Another spat, "Humans are nothing." The ambassador stood still, letting the storm pass. When silence returned, he looked each alien leader in the eye. "You will see." And at that very moment, alarms rang across the alien fleets above the moon. A massive distortion opened near orbit, larger than anything before. It was no longer a ghost. It was real. It was coming closer. The council chamber shook as warning sirens echoed in every ship. Alien voices cried out in panic, but the humans remained still. The ambassador closed his eyes for a brief moment, as if listening to something only he could hear. When he opened them again, his calm gaze cut through the chaos. The aliens thought they ruled the stars. They thought humanity was a fragile world to be claimed. But the ripples in the void were growing stronger, and the shadows were almost ready to break. What they would see next would end their laughter forever. The first crack, the alarms did not stop. They echoed across every alien vessel in orbit, a deep pulse of danger that unsettled even the bravest crews. Captains barked orders. Technicians scrambled across control stations, but no clear answer came. Something was moving in the void, something vast, something hidden. At first, the alien commanders dismissed it as an error. Their ships had fought in countless wars, and their sensors had always been perfect. A storm in the void, one growled. A phantom signal. But their voices were tight, their claws restless, their tails flicking with unease. The distortion reappeared. This time it stretched like a wound in space, a slow tear in the blackness. The stars behind it bent as though pulled by something massive. On one alien flagship, a young officer gasped. "It is growing," he whispered. His commander snapped at him. "Silence. Do not feed panic. It is nothing." But the fear in the officer's eyes was already spreading to others. The council chamber shook faintly as the distortion deepened. Alien leaders demanded answers, their voices colliding in anger and fear. "What is this?" one shouted. "What have you brought upon us, human?" The human ambassador did not move. His expression stayed calm, his gaze steady. "We brought only ourselves," he said. "What you see is your own mistake." The words cut through the noise like a blade. For the first time, the aliens looked at the humans with something other than arrogance. They looked with suspicion and with fear. Above the moon, the alien fleets armed their weapons. Plasma cannons glowed, energy shields flared to life. Dozens of ships shifted position, circling like predators ready to strike. The void trembled again, stronger now. And then for a brief instant something appeared. A shape. Not clear, not whole, but enough. A shadow larger than the alien flagships, jagged and black, slipped into view before fading again. Gasps filled the control rooms. One captain shouted, "There is something there. Cloaked, it is not our ships." Another distortion appeared, then another. Shadows moved in the dark like giants shifting beneath a curtain. The aliens could no longer deny it. Something was out there with them. In the chamber, panic began to show. The insectoid queen hissed in rage, her wings rattling. "What trick is this? What sorcery do you humans play?" The ambassador's voice was calm, steady as stone. "No trick. No sorcery. Only truth." The reptilian commander slammed his claw on the table. "Lies, you have no fleets. You are nothing but a primitive species." But even as he shouted, the fear in his throat betrayed him. He had seen the shadows too. The chamber's walls shook again. This time it was no alarm. It was real. Outside, the distortions burst wide. Cloaking fields shimmered like water breaking, and glimpses of steel and fire flickered through. Alien captains froze at the sight. Hulls shaped like blades. Towers rising like fortresses. Weapons glowing faintly with restrained power. Ships too large, too silent, too many. The galaxy had mocked humans as weak, but now the truth pressed against the edge of sight. Humanity was not weak. Humanity had been waiting. Alien crews whispered to themselves in terror. Terran Warships. It cannot be. It cannot. Their commanders shouted at them to hold ranks, but the whispers spread. Fear spreads faster than fire. The human guards behind the ambassador finally moved. Not much, only a step forward. Boots echoing on the polished floor. But it was enough to make the aliens flinch. The ambassador spoke once more. His words were simple, his tone unshaken. "You called us children. You called us fragile. You laughed at us. But you did not look closely enough. You did not see what was hidden in the dark." The aliens screamed at him, their voices breaking in anger. "You dare threaten the council? You dare!" But their rage was cut short by the roar of space outside. The distortions widened into full form. For a heartbeat, the cloaking fields faltered entirely. And there they were. Shadows of giants. Black steel stretching kilometers long, hulls bristling with cannons, glowing engines like suns, silent, patient predators of the void, the Terran Warships. They flickered for only a moment before vanishing again into shadow, but it was enough. The aliens saw them. The lie of human weakness had shattered. The chamber was no longer filled with arrogance. It was filled with silence, heavy, suffocating silence. One alien whispered what all of them were now thinking. If these ships are real, then everything we thought is wrong. The ambassador lowered his gaze, his calm smile thin and sharp. Now you begin to understand. The first crack had opened. The galaxy that thought itself eternal now stood trembling on the edge of revelation. The reveal, the stars went silent. Every alien ship in orbit froze, their crews staring at the endless blackness where shadows had flickered. The commanders shouted, but their voices were empty now. Even the strongest among them could not hide the tremor in their tone. Something enormous was moving in the void, and it was no phantom. The distortions grew until they stretched across the sky like cracks in glass. One by one, the cloaking fields broke. The curtain between shadow and truth was torn away. And then they appeared. Terran Warships. They emerged slowly, as if the universe itself hesitated to reveal them. Massive steel hulls slid out of the darkness, black as night and sharp as blades. Their towers rose like fortresses, their armored skins scarred with battles unknown. Rows of cannons lined their flanks, each weapon glowing faintly with restrained energy. The first ship was vast enough to block entire constellations. Its hull gleamed with golden light from hidden engines, painting the stars in fire. Behind it more came, another and another. Dozens of warships, each one larger than the last, filled the void around the council moon. The aliens gasped in disbelief. Some cried out, others fell silent, their eyes wide with terror. For centuries they had believed they ruled the stars, but in a single moment that belief shattered. On the council floor, the reptilian commander staggered back from the table. His scales shivered as he whispered, "Impossible. Humans cannot build such things." The insectoid queen's wings beat frantically, her mandibles clacking in fear. They hid them. All this time they hid them. The human ambassador stood calmly in the center of the storm. His eyes reflected the glow of his fleet outside. He spoke softly, but his words carried like thunder. "You wish to see our weakness. Now you see our truth." Above the moon, the warships moved in perfect silence. No wild charge, no reckless display. They advanced with the slow, patient grace of predators that already owned their prey. Their weapons were not yet fired, but the threat was louder than any cannon blast. Alien fleets scrambled to adjust positions. Commanders shouted for their ships to form defensive lines, but panic spread faster than orders. Crews hesitated, their hands shaking over their controls. Many could not look away from the sight of Terran steel blotting out the stars. One alien captain muttered to himself, "These ships, they are too many. They are too strong. We cannot fight this." Another snapped back, trying to restore courage, but his voice cracked. "Hold ranks. We are the Council's fleets. No primitive world can—" His words died as another colossal warship decloaked, dwarfing even the largest of their flagships. The chamber shook again, but this time it was not alarms. It was the weight of engines the size of cities, rumbling like thunder across the void. The aliens turned to the ambassador, fear naked in their eyes. "Why did you hide them?" one demanded. "Why cloak such power until now?" The ambassador's voice was calm, even cold. "Because we did not come to conquer. We came to warn. We came in peace until peace was no longer enough." The word struck harder than any weapon. The aliens realized then that humanity had not shown its true strength during first contact. The humans had chosen silence, had chosen patience, and that patience had ended now. On the fleet's command channel, unseen by alien ears, a human voice spoke with quiet authority. "Formation lock complete. All batteries charged." Awaiting orders, the ambassador heard it through his device. He did not smile, but his eyes held the weight of finality. Outside, the warships stopped their slow advance. They hung in the void like mountains of steel, surrounding the alien fleets completely. Dozens of smaller Terran vessels decloaked as well, escort ships and carriers each bristling with weapons and defenses. The aliens were outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded. One alien admiral tried to sound strong. "You will not fire. The Council will not allow this." If you strike, you doom yourselves. The ambassador turned to him, his gaze sharp as ice. You already doomed yourselves. You believed weakness where there was strength. You mistook silence for fear, and now the galaxy will remember. A heavy silence filled the chamber. None dared to speak. The power outside was too great, too overwhelming. The council, which had laughed only hours before, now sat trembling before the quiet words of a human. Above, the Terran fleet shifted slightly, their weapons locking onto alien targets. Red targeting beams danced across hulls, across bridges, across the council's proud warships. The aliens held their breath, waiting for the storm to break, but it did not. Not yet. The humans let the silence stretch, let the fear grow. The warships did not need to fire to win. Their presence alone was victory. The ambassador raised his head, his voice final. We came in peace. But peace does not mean surrender. Remember this day, for it will never leave you. The aliens looked once more to the stars. Where once they had seen themselves as rulers, now they saw giants standing in the dark, silent and unshaken, and the galaxy trembled. The warships held their positions like silent titans, their black hulls glowing with the faint light of power restrained. Across the alien fleets, fear had spread like fire. Captains who once boasted of crushing weaker species now whispered among themselves. The proud voices of the council were gone. Inside the chamber, the silence was suffocating. No alien dared to laugh anymore. No one spoke of peace on their terms. Every eye was on the human ambassador, waiting for what would come next. The reptilian commander, his arrogance broken, leaned forward. His voice trembled, though he tried to make it strong. You would not fire on the council. To do so would be suicide. Every empire would turn against you. The ambassador's gaze did not waver. His voice was calm, cold, and steady. You misunderstand. We do not need to fire. We do not need to prove anything more. You already see the truth. The words cut deeper than any weapon. The aliens understood this fleet was not a bluff. It was not a trick. The Terran warships were real, and they were beyond anything the galaxy had prepared for. Above the moon, the Terran fleet moved as one. Their engines pulsed softly, their weapons locked but silent. Every alien ship in orbit had been targeted. Their shields would mean nothing. Their cannons would never fire fast enough. In a single command, they could all be erased. On the alien flagships, panic spread. Crews looked at one another with dread. Some whispered prayers to forgotten gods. Others cursed their leaders for mocking humanity. Everyone understood the same truth. If the humans wanted war, no one in orbit would survive. The insectoid queen broke the silence in the chamber, her wings buzzing weakly. Why hide this? Why cloak such power if you meant only peace? The ambassador turned his eyes on her. Because peace was our choice. You forced us to show what we never wished to show. You believed silence was weakness. It was patience. The council members shifted in unease. They realized how blind they had been. They had mistaken calm for fear, silence for surrender. And now they faced a truth they could not control. One alien general tried to rise, slamming his fist on the table. This cannot stand. If humanity wishes to join the council, it must... He stopped when the chamber shook again. Outside, one Terran ship rotated slowly, its cannons aligning directly with his flagship. Red targeting beams painted across its bridge. The general's voice died in his throat. The ambassador spoke again, his tone sharper now. We did not come to bow. We did not come to kneel. We came to stand. You thought we were too weak to stand beside you. You were wrong. You will never forget it. Alien leaders looked at each other, searching for courage, for words, but none came. For the first time in centuries, the Great Council felt powerless. Above, the Terran fleet shifted formation. Dozens of massive warships spread across the stars, their silhouettes cutting through constellations. Smaller escorts filled the gaps, creating a net of steel around the alien armada. Every escape route was sealed. The aliens were trapped like prey inside a hunter's jaws. The ambassador pressed his wrist device once more. A voice came through, deep and steady, filling the chamber with weight. Fleet locked, awaiting final order. The ambassador looked around the table, his eyes hard as iron. We came to show peace. We came to speak. You answered with threats. If you wish war, we are ready. If you wish peace, then understand it will be on equal ground. Humanity does not kneel. The word struck like thunder. The aliens who once mocked Earth now stared at the ambassador with wide, fearful eyes. Not a single one dared to reply. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by the low hum of the warships above. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Finally, the reptilian commander lowered his gaze. The arrogance in his eyes was gone, replaced with resignation. "Then what do you demand?" The ambassador's voice softened, but the strength within it remained. "Nothing more than what we always asked. Peace, respect, recognition, nothing less." The chamber trembled again, but this time it was not from fear. It was from realization. The old order had ended. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted in a single day. Above, the Terran warships turned slowly, their weapons disengaging but their presence still heavy. They did not need to fire. Their silence was louder than any battle. The ambassador took his seat once more. His final words were calm, almost quiet, but they carried across every heart in the chamber. "Remember this day. Remember what you saw. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not prey. We are Terrans, and the stars will never forget us." The alien leaders bowed their heads. For the first time in living memory, the council had been humbled. And outside, the Terran warships drifted in silence, their dark hulls gleaming with power. They had come not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy of a truth too long ignored. Peace had returned to the chamber, but it was no longer the peace of fear. It was the peace of respect. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again.